all to the panel discussion at the International Virtual Conference on Artificial Intelligence and Society, Shaping Ethical Horizons, jointly organized by DY Patil School of Law, Navi Mumbai, Public Concern for Governance Trust, PCGT, and V Kompus Juris Pvt. Limited. About the organizing institutions, Public Concern for Governance Trust, PCGT, was established in 2002 to uphold integrity and fight corruption. It was founded during a time when honest officers were being targeted by political forces. Through public interest litigation and awareness initiatives, PCGT has played a crucial role in promoting ethical governance. The organization strongly believes in shaping young minds to develop a generation that upholds democratic values and moral integrity. CY Patil School of Law, Navi Mumbai, is a premier institution dedicated to legal education and research. It strives to provide quality legal education while fostering ethical and socially responsible professionals. The institution actively engages in academic collaborations, moot courts, and research projects to ensure a well-rounded legal education. V Kompus Juris Pvt. Limited, incorporated in June 2024, aims to bridge the gap between theoretical legal education and practical skill development. The organization offers expert designated training programs, international collaborations, research opportunities, and skill development courses. Its vision is to empower learners by providing hands on legal exposure and fostering critical legal thinking in the field of law. About the third edition of the PCGT conclave. This conference marks the third edition of the PCGT conclave, focusing on the intersection of artificial intelligence and society. The theme of this year's conference, Shaping Ethical Horizons, highlights the growing impact of AI on privacy, accountability, governance, and ethical framework. Today's panel discussion will explore key issues such as AI and constitutional privacy, algorithmic bias, ethical AI in healthcare, and liability concerns in autonomous systems. We are privileged to have distinguished guests with us to share their insights on these pressing issues. A short introduction to the panelists. Dr. Yasho Ashok Yende, sir. We are honored to welcome Dr. Ashok Yende, founder and managing partner of Yende Legal Associates and ombudsman at Maharashtra National Law University, Mumbai. With over 41 years of experience in teaching, administration, and legal practice, Dr. Yende has made significant contributions to legal education and dispute resolution. He has served as the professor and head of Department of Law at the University of Mumbai and has actively participated in various national and international conferences, including those organized by the United Nations and Harvard Kennedy School. Dr. Yende has authored several books, mentored numerous PhD scholars, and remains deeply engaged in community legal aid and mediation. Recognized for his expertise in human rights and public policy, Dr. Yende has been empaneled as a mediator by the Honorable Lordship Chairman of the Supreme Court Legal Services Community in the panel of the Supreme Court Mediation Center. His vast experience and knowledge will provide invaluable insights in today's discussion. Dr. Abhijit Rohi, sir. Next, we welcome Dr. Abhijit Rohi, sir, an esteemed academician and assistant professor at Maharashtra National Law University, Mumbai. Dr. Rohi specializes in informational privacy law, having completed his PhD from National Law School of India, NLSIU Bangalore. His research explores the impact of technological advancements on legal rights. He has previously taught at Christ University, Bangalore, and has achieved the Saroja Gopalakrishna Scholarship for Academic Excellence. His expertise in privacy law, data protection, and human rights law will provide a critical perspective on AI and constitutional privacy in today's discussion. Next, we have Dr. Swapnil Shenvi, sir. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Swapnil Shenvi, sir, a distinguished finance expert, company secretary and assistant professor at Navi Mumbai Institute of Management Studies, NMIMS, Mumbai. Dr. Srini holds a PhD in commerce, business policy, and administration, and has extensive experience in financial systems, corporate governance, and investment strategies. As the founder of Sati Financials, he guides investors in making informed financial decisions. He has published 14 research papers with high impact factors and has authored 5 academic books on finance and law. Additionally, he is the reviewer of the International Journal of Corporate Finance and Accountability, IGI Global. Dr. Shinui has been honored with the Changemaker Award in Academia and recently represented India at Harvard College HPAI IR conference in Thailand. His expertise in financial governance, algorithmic decision making, and AI driven financial models will provide invaluable insights into the evolving intersection of technology and finance. Next, we welcome Nilesh Kala sir. We are privileged to welcome Advocate Nilesh Kala, an esteemed legal expert, independent legal counsel, and co-founder of Law Square Advocates. With extensive experience in litigation and dispute resolution, Advocate Kala specializes in banking and finance, real estate laws, and arbitration. His firm, Law Square, has represented renowned clients including Tata Capital, L&T Financial Holdings, and the Bombay Stock Exchange. His deep expertise in regulatory compliance, estate planning, and corporate finance will offer valuable insights into the legal challenge surrounding AI in governance and business. This panel together experts from law, finance, governance, and technology to critically examine AI's role in shaping legal and ethical frameworks. We look forward to an engaging discussion that will not only inform but also challenge us to think critically about the future of AI regulation and ethics. We extend our gratitude to all the panelists and attendees for joining today. We encourage all participants to actively engage in the discussion and contribute to the important dialogue. Let us begin the discussion.
Thank you very much, Harshita, for your warm introduction and detailed introduction of all the speakers. May I request all the speakers to please turn on their cameras for a better panel discussion. Good morning, everyone. Myself, Vedant Vaishali Jayant, and I'm the Chief Student Ambassador at Public Concern for Governance Trust. And today I'll be moderating this session. So I'll just give a brief introduction as a moderator, and then I would request all the esteemed panelists to please give their opening address, opening remarks, and then one by one we'll proceed with the question answer session where we'll discuss according to your subject expertise. So today we gather here at a crucial juncture where technological advancements are redefining our and social and ethical landscapes. Artificial intelligence is no longer just an innovation, it is force shaping governance, justice, corporate ethics, and fundamental rights. We are privileged to have with us esteemed panelists, experts who bring diverse perspectives on AI, legal, regulatory, and ethical dimensions. Their insights will guide us in understanding how AI is transforming judicial systems, corporate governance, dispute resolution, financial regulations, data protection, all while navigating the complex concerns of accountability, fairness, and human rights. As AI continues to evolve, it challenges the long standing legal doctrines and compels us to rethink the regulatory frameworks. How do we ensure AI services justice without compromising human rights? How do we address AI's bias while fostering innovation? These are the pressing concerns which we will be discussing in today's session. We'll also be discussing on whether AI can be a corporate personality. Just recently, we have seen a law student from Jindal has filed a petition that AI is a co-author because that person's project was disqualified. His dissertation was disqualified on the grounds of AI plagiarism, and he said that AI is my co-author. So we'll discuss how AI and intellectual property rights can go hand in hand. Then we have in legal systems, we have practicing advocate like Nilesh Gala sir and Ashok Yende sir. So how the entire master of roaster system, which the Chief Justice has, and we have seen how master of roaster is at times being biased while giving the allotting the cases. We have seen the 2018 conference also, how artificial intelligence can be used, because I remember vividly that our former Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud said that technology is something which can solve this human bias, and we should look forward to integrating AI for this entire system. So these things we'll be discussing today. With this, I would request Advocate Dr. Ashok Yende sir to please give his opening remarks.
Yeah, so thank you, Vedanta, for the introductory remarks. And as you rightly said, that the Indian system, legal system, is very complex. Our traditional legal system very complex and very expensive. And with so much of pendency of the cases, maybe more than 5.2 crores of the cases in on judicial side, right, from the lower subordinate court to the Supreme Court, and then from non-judicial side, maybe around 3 crores of the cases. And even it has been admitted by the former Chief Justice and even current Chief Justice of India. And you see, with this complex system and our legal education network of India with the legal professional is the biggest in the world next to United States. So with these complexities, all these things, I think AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning is going to play a very important role. And I think it's a necessary that we should apply that. But as you rightly said, there are some very burning issues like regulatory measures are there, because any field is new, they take some time to develop that particular field. So natural regulatory frameworks are there, the liability is there, then some predictive analysis is there, and as you say, the master of rules, all these issues are there. How we are going to deal with all these issues with reference to the artificial intelligence? And India being a very vast country with so much of population, people are not so literate. So our parameters may be different than the developed countries. Many times what happens, we borrow the system from the foreign country, just like we same legal system we borrow from the foreign country. Many systems we borrow from the foreign country, but it may not be suited to this country, considering the exigencies of this country, considering the population, the illiteracy, ignorance of the country. So with these limited resources, it becomes very difficult to apply the same parameters of the artificial intelligence which are being applied in the developed country. Recently, in the international conference which our own honorable prime minister attended, so a lot of discussion was there. So there is a difference of opinion amongst the various countries. So I think from that perspective, from Indian perspective, we should look at and discuss about this application of AI. But certainly, I will admit that application of AI and adoption of AI is must, is necessary, considering the complexity and the pendency of the cases and access to justice for a common man in this country.
Thank you very much, sir, for your opening remarks. I now request Dr. Abhijit Rohi, sir, to kindly give his opening remarks.
Hi, thank you so much for having me for the conference here, and I'm happy to be the part of the amazing panelists who are sharing the dais with me today. To just probably give some insights into the entire discussion that we are likely to have through the panel discussion today, I think it's important that we have to understand the nitty-gritties of the entire issue to figure out what kind of arrangements for regulation that we are planning on making as a country. I mean, Niti Aayog released a report, but subsequently, I think Carnegie India has also come up with a recent report in 2024 figuring out what should be specific conditions that India should probably adopt. Having said that, those may be the Indian developments, but at international level, the things are changing pretty fast. And so is, of course, the technology developing pretty fast. So, how would we keep up the pace into all of this? And then also understand that like our constitutional values are still respected, protected, and even furthered. I think any development, deployment, or modifications of artificial intelligence at any level in this country would have to be discussed, deliberated, and then probably a very important path that could be carved out for India itself. Exactly how Ashok sir has pointed out, I think we did, by analogy, something of the similar nature in terms of Data Protection Act in Indian context, especially while we said we will not align ourselves with American approach of regulating or European approach of regulating. So we try to kind of like carve out a separate path than all these three led blocks, including China on the other hand, I think. And that's the whole reason that we will probably have to figure out as to how India works on it. one of the very important initiatives of Government of India has also been the India AI initiative, which kind of like is not only funding but creating ways of making sure that resources are available and accessible to the researchers in the country. And how do we exactly balance all of that in the light of legal response to all of these issues is something that I think would be the focus of this discussion. So I'm so thankful for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I request Dr. Swapnil, sir, to please give his opening address.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for calling me on this panel today. I'm really honored to be a part of this discussion on AI and society, a theme that encapsulates artificial intelligence across various industries, across economies, across human lives. So I would like to address the dual impact of AI on finance as well as education. With respect to the finance field, AI has fundamentally reshaped the financial markets, the banking sector, the investment strategies, right from getting robo advisors to algorithmic trading to fraud detection and credit assessments. AI is definitely driving precision and efficiency. But however, we also need to look at the negative aspects like the 2010 flash crash, which was because of high frequency trading algorithms, so which crashed the entire market in a few minutes. So we need to actually see how we can have a regulatory oversight and an AI accountability in the financial markets. With regards to the education sector, I understand that AI has had a huge impact on the education sector, but will AI replace the entire educators? I probably doubt, because AI is going to definitely be a helping hand in this field, but replacing with emotions is probably, as of now, not possible by AI. So we need to ensure that there is an optimum balance between AI and the educators and the teaching learning process, which will help us in the long run. Ultimately, to conclude my opening remark, I would definitely say that this discussion that we are going to have in the next 45 minutes or so will not just be about the impact of AI on the society, but also the impact of the stakeholders or the users of AI on the society. So I definitely look forward to this insightful discussion that we are going to have in the next 45 minutes or so.
Thank you, sir. The one point which you made, that will AI replace the educators, that was quite an interesting point, because I would definitely love to discuss on those points in the later stage. Now I request Advocate Nilesh Gala, sir, to please give his opening remarks.
Hi, very good morning to all of you all on a Sunday morning. Am I audible, Vedant?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you for having me on this esteemed panel discussion on the AI and what is the impact on the legal system and what are the regulations which will govern the AI. I firstly start with that we are at a very premature stage of having a digital world ruling by some bot towards the legal system, incorporating into a legal system. Yes, definitely it is a positive impact which we see in a decade or so to have our pendency, as Dr. Ashok Yende said, that Dr. Chandrachud, the past CGI, the ex-CGI, has already mentioned about the AI and using of the tools to try and dispose of all the pending cases and the judicial bias, which you said, rightly said, Vedant. So when there are pros and cons about it. So having a positive and a negative impact of using a bot, like it comes with a disclaimer. Like my friend Swapnil said that it was a crash in the market and because of the algorithm based. So it has also having negative impacts. Like if the trading is completely dependent on the AI, it will really make the market so volatile and uncertain that in a day you will see that the markets are closed and crores of rupees are wiped off. This, it has a negative impact and we need a proper regulation which is till date not in force. and who shall be responsible for these losses, not only to individual, it can be to the government or organizations as well. So we are at a very premature stage, though there are data regulation in place, data protection regulations are in place, that some AI cannot replace any human being, and that if there is some replica made by an AI, it is very difficult to actually trace down. And if you see so many online frauds happening these days because of online arrest, this that the education, like Ashok sir said, in India is very less, and people really fear down to all of this. I would still say that we should have a very stronger backup before this platform comes into picture in every organization, so that if there are cyber wars or something which is really going to be a disastrous situation, we can catch hold of someone who's going to be really ruling this AI or diverting this AI, because it's a manual, ultimately it's a man-made created thing. I don't want to say that a robot will tomorrow hold it humans to make their slave. So we should have our backup system properly in place, including the regulations, the rules, the act, and of course the criminal procedure to involve those who can, cyber attack or use this AI to govern the entire system. Like right now, my office also, Vedant, is using, a lot of interns have started using AI to draft notices. A notice humanly takes at least a day. It's time to research, draft a notice in a proper manner. But when you type it down in the AI, it comes in like seconds. It's though faster, but it is dangerous as well. If there is an error, it really makes a big impact on the entire system. So I would say that it is a both ways. It's at very premature stage, and we need to really work on the data protection and the regulations to be in place.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your opening address. Now we'll start with our panel discussion. My first question is to Dr. Ashok END, sir. And of course, the question is on judicial reform. So what is your opinion on the implications of integrating the artificial intelligence into judicial functions? Because when we talk about artificial intelligence into judicial functions, we also have a concept of algorithmic bias, where the algorithm is trained in such a way that the outcome which the algorithm will produce it will itself be biased. For example, if a white man hypothetically is having all the algorithms which is keeping all the blacks as criminals and not maybe granting them bail, and then that entire algorithm is given to the judge, and that will ultimately transpire that no black person is getting a bail in the court of law. There are human algorithmic bias, then there is a couple of other biases which are developed in artificial intelligence. So how do we deal with this, A? And then when we talk about pendency of cases in the court, which is a current crucial matter right now, around 4 crore cases are pending. How do we use artificial intelligence in that? And will it have any impact on the justice delivery system?
So Vedant, you rightly said algorithm bias, then human elements. These are the very integral part of any justice delivery system. And particularly, as even other speakers also supported with that, my view that our parameters are totally different. So I understand, I agree that application of adoption of artificial intelligence is necessary, considering, as you rightly said, not only 4 crore, but to my knowledge, 5.2 crore official figure, maybe of the unofficial figure, maybe more, and we are not considering the cases before the quasi-judicial bodies and the tribunals. So it may run into 7 to 8 crores. So 7 to 8 crores cases before judicial side, from lower court to the higher court and to the quasi-judicial and tribunals. So it's a very serious concern, I think, and that's why application of technology, including machine learning or the artificial intelligence, is necessary. But as other speakers also agreed that your parameters are different. Like you also add, so that human element is necessary, because the system is being, in Indian system we borrow the system for a foreign country, but then system is being manipulated. And this even in urban elite also, that as you also said, that there will be disparity between application of that system in the rural official area and the urban areas, because they can easily manipulate the system. So sometimes We educated people may not be able to manage the system. There are certain elements like that. Even the website of the Supreme Court was hacked. Even the website of the Parliament was hacked. So you can understand this some disgruntled elements of the criminals. They can how they can manage to go to the extent of the that then though they don't have that much knowledge of the expertise. So this is the whole scenario in the Indian country, and just like about the backlog and the pendency of the case, certainly is a very serious issue because so many they are appointing judges because law commission of India recommended appointed judges. They have also then infrastructure they are increased, but in spite of that somewhere we are lacking because system is very complex. Our judicial system we borrowed from the foreign country because we got the independence. We could not get that much time. Naturally, most of the pre-independence laws and the system we adapted like that. Now they have been repealed. Some criminal laws have been repealed. So entire basic system we borrowed, maybe Anglo-Saxon system, common law system, or parliament system. So we borrowed the system probably may not be suited to this country. So the countries where the system is we from whom we borrowed the system, the pendency is less. Whereas in considering our other parameters like population, other circumstances, our pendency is too much, and it's a very horrifying situation. Everybody. So considering all these things because of the complexities, because so much of the procedure. So much of the procedure at the various level, question of the interpretation, then appeal provisions, and the laws are also very complex. Laws are meant for the common person. We say we the people in the constitution with the preamble, starting with the people. The laws are meant for the common people. We never think about the common people. So we thought about the only from the higher people and the elite class level. That should not happen because we most of the majority of the population they are illiterate and they are rather downtrodden. And from that angle, pendency of the cases, so AI certainly should be applicable. That is my personal opinion. Though maybe Chief Justice Chandrachud took the initiative entire thing, but just earlier former Chief Justice Ramana, and then even Chandrachud, Mr. Bobde, they also said that we have to Indianize the system. So on one side they said that we should adopt the artificial intelligence, but we should also Indianize the system. That means common people should get the justice. So how this we are going to balance, it will be very difficult for me to answer or the comment. But application of technology, and that is how we are doing it. Now e-filing is compulsory, virtual court is there, we can go to the hybrid mode, but you cannot deny virtual hearing to any advocate or the lawyer. So because of that, naturally it has lessened the workload, and immediately from here I can file the case and I immediately join to the Supreme Court of India, or any lawyer from the Mofussil area or a poor person can join immediately to the approach to the Supreme Court of India. So that's why and another advantage of the AI in this is we have lot of bunch of the this record is there. See, it becomes very difficult. Even you file the case, one case, immediately opposite lawyer will say that how to differentiate the case because judgment is given by the apex court, and then there was a confusion. It will go on prolonging like that on that ground. So immediately, because of the assistance of the artificial intelligence, you can immediately segregate what cases are for, what cases are against, what how cases can be differentiated. So we can come to some proper conclusion, though it may not be accepted by the court. But that is how you can come to some conclusion. We call sometimes at a predictive analysis. So we can predict that this can be there. This type of the cases are there. Maybe 10,000 cases are there. So any human being, ultimately judges are also human being. It may not be possible to analyze all the cases. Even law colleges who analyze few cases for the moot court and other seminar and other conferences. So 10,000 cases are there within a minute. Artificial intelligence and machine learning naturally they will segregate the cases for and against, and this can be a predictive analysis that can help judges then to take the decision. Because ultimately every time you cannot apply artificial intelligence, then they is bound to be missing because of the this human element, missing human element, and then as you said algorithm and other factors are there, and then social factors are there. Somebody has committed the offense of a particular murder has been committed, so sociological factor are there. Artificial intelligence will not consider the sociological factor. Artificial intelligence will not consider the psychological factor. So these are the ground realities, difficulties in country like India, and that should be considered. So apply technological these techniques or technology or the artificial intelligence on one side. Another side, consider the situation in this country so that you can get proper justice. Otherwise, getting hurriedly access to justice only through artificial intelligence may deprive many poor persons from getting proper justice. That is what I feel.
Yes, one thing which you pointed out that we should Indianize the artificial intelligence and then apply it to our
Yeah,
system,
yeah,
because the
yeah,
problem
yeah,
with our country is we always are attracted to foreign legislations, and as Rohi sir
yeah,
has very rightly mentioned, we first
yeah,
said that we will not refer the European Union's or US laws, and then we ultimately end up copying the GDPR.
yeah,
So I think that is a very important point. Now, I would like to move on to Dr. Abhijit Rohi, sir. Sir, when we talk about integration of artificial intelligence, what is the impact of AI with the balance between the civil liberties, the privacy, and the security of the state? And following up that, we have an entire concept in constitutional law, a state under Article 12. So now, can artificial intelligence be a state? Because and artificial intelligence can violate fundamental rights. And how do we look at the constitutional morality from this end?
Okay, that's I think a multi-layered question for me to respond to, but I'll try my level best to do it as crisply as possible within the given short span. However, one important thing that I would basically want to, put in as a disclaimer is because I think recently we are still not very clear in terms of how exactly artificial intelligence is going to develop in the coming years. I mean, just the other day when the Prime Minister was there in the US and Sundar, the CEO of Google, was basically asked as to how should we respond to all of it. I think he said very clearly that we cannot predict as to what's going to happen 10 years down the line. At max, what we can think about is 2 to 3 years. If this kind of volatile nature of technology is basically there, what kind of reaction that we would possibly have? And it is in this case, probably I might take a little different view for the simple reason that even though we understand that technology is volatile, it's going to change pretty quickly. But nonetheless, there are certain factors that we have always considered as sacrosanct, right? Let's say some of the constitutional values that we have set for ourselves that are always going to remain as such, and that effectively means that under any circumstances, any deployment of any technology, irrespective of what kind of nature that it actually has, it would still have to comply with our constitutional ideals. And then, in looking from that point of view altogether, I think some of the fundamental principles that have been agreed on by international community with respect to artificial intelligence might still hold a very, very good value for us as well. I mean, the 2019 OECD principles on regulating artificial intelligence still hold a very, very valid ground, is what I presume. And even though we try or probably figure out as to how do we contextualize all of that in Indian situation, nonetheless, some of the considered interests will fundamentally always be at the forefront. So even though, I mean, like with the emergence of the concept of digital constitutionalism, I think we have yet another tool for us to engage with. How do we react to it? One of the very interesting models that was proposed was by Professor Baldwin, and he actually talks about in the context of free speech. While, however, he was talking about free speech, he was seeing as to how, in the recent context with the advancement of the technology, that we do not have to only think in terms of a linear kind of like trust flow, right? In the sense that like I trust the institutions, and that's why institutions have to, let's say, protect my interests. That no longer is true, right? And one very interesting work that has come in absolutely recently was by Rachel Botsman. And Rachel Botsman is a professor at, I think, a research fellow at Oxford University's Business School. And she also has a very interesting standpoint to probably look at the ideas of how do we make sense of trust. Because ultimately, constitutional morality would want us to have trust into the systems. That effectively means that will have to also permeate into having trust into all affairs that we basically have, including the deployment of the technology. And because now I will try and integrate the two concepts, one of Rachel and another one of Professor Baldwin, because Baldwin is saying it's a triangle in the sense that on the one hand you have the state, on the other hand you have the individual who is actually using these platforms, and on the third hand you have the private entities which are seemingly largely in control of progression of this technology, right? It's not that the technology has become a very commonplace occurrence for its development and deployment. It's still controlled by a few. And it's by that logic, we will always have to look at as to how each of the stakeholders would actually play the significant role. Linking it to what Rachel has said in terms of the trust idea, I think it makes a lot of sense to see as to how we look at the nature of artificial intelligence in terms of the technology itself. Because while we talk of trust, there are three things that have been identified way back in 1995. I think one is the ability, another one is benevolence, and third one is integrity. Of the three, I think this ABI model, say A and B, can possibly be attributed to artificial intelligence. Like, you can say that artificial intelligence has the ability, let's say, to take on the matters of pending cases before the court. It may as well be benevolent, let's say, while we try to address the problems of like embedded biases that are going to be probably there because of the data sets on which we are training artificial intelligence. But on the other hand, I think it would be very important for us to look at as to whether artificial intelligence could ever reach to a level of consciousness where we would claim integrity in terms of its behavior or responses to human needs. And that's where I think we have a major problem in terms of how even law responds to all such conditions. And it is in this case, I think there is nothing wrong in agreeing to some of the fundamental, basic, essential features across the globe, right? Which has also to a larger extent happened. And just to substantiate this part, like, whatever I just said, and probably I'll stop there, is that under every possible circumstance, even if India were to think about any law on artificial intelligence, India cannot choose to, let's say, go ahead with only harm based fixation of liability for artificial intelligence. For the simple reason that even constitutional morality wise, we will not necessarily wait for the wrong to happen to address the concerns. That effectively would mean we will then left with choosing an option of risk-based regulation of artificial intelligence, which is then forward-looking, which is where we see as to what are the likely impact that it is going to have on people's lives, especially its contravention to the sacred constitutional principles, and then probably work our way backwards into building the network or the regulations for us. Yeah, I think that handles few aspects of the question that you posed.
Thank you very much, sir. Moving forward to Swapnil, sir, I would like to ask you the question on education sector. How do you look the integration of artificial intelligence in education sector? And as Ruhi sir has pointed out, the Niti Aayog report. So the Niti Aayog came up with this detailed report in which they used how AI can be used in different sectors. So in that, they have also said that AI can be used in education sector to increase the education rate, to increase the literacy rate, and also to increase the school enrollment ratio. But exactly on the contrary, we see that there are areas, there are places in India where we don't even have internet access. So isn't this a complete disparity between haves and haves not? And having artificial intelligence in education sector, will it do more wrong than better?
Um, Uh, Honestly speaking, when it comes to the education sector, AI can definitely help in a lot of things, but it has to be used in a proper manner. It's like you leave a dog on the lawn, it will run haywire. But then if you have a ball with the dog, and then the dog can be trained in a proper manner. That's how you have to use AI, not just in education sector, but in general everywhere. So if you have this kind of a setup where you have AI inbuilt in all the things that you're doing in the education sector, only then it will function. For example, the thing that you were speaking about, there's no internet in some of the areas. I do agree to that. Just recently, I mean, maybe a year ago, I guess, I had read in the newspaper that there is an area in Mumbai without electricity. Forget about internet. So there's no electricity since independence. So if we have to catch up from there and then provide them internet, then provide them an AI based feature, it's going to be a long time. It's not going to be happening overnight. So here, what the government has to do is it has to create an ecosystem. Government's role is not to provide goods or services. You just have to provide an infrastructure, and then the private sector and the non-governmental organizations will come in, will pitch in, and try to elevate this sector. Also about since you've spoken about this education thing, and Dr. Ashok also mentioned a while back that the gender based or color based responses of AI. You mentioned Vedant about that. Those things will definitely happen because India does not have an AI system of its own. That can be overcome only if India has its AI system. The problem with the Indian regulations is the AI is evolving faster as compared to the legislations. So the legislations have to keep a track of this, evolve overnight, evolve regularly, I would say, and only then this education sector can be developed with the help of AI, and the number of people getting enrolled will increase over a span of time. Yes,
Yes, thank
Vedant.
you very much, sir. Now my question is to Advocate Nilesh Gala, sir. So, because you specialize in intellectual property rights and also an practicing advocate, so my question will be in two folds. So, my first question is that who truly owns this data that is collected by artificial intelligence system, whether the individual person who has made that AI, or the corporation, the government, or any third party? And what rights should that individual get about for this development of this data? That is my first fold question. Second fold, sir, as you mentioned that your office is also using AI systems. So there are software engineers who are developing a complete legal robot who will who will be feeded all the information, and we just have to put in all the facts of the case, and he will give all the legal solutions to us. So maybe it's a threat to the entire advocate community also now with that. So how do you look at this entire legal robot which is being created in recent times?
So, thanks, Vedant, to ask that question. Rightly said that the system is a bit shaken because the newcomers are feeling that the AI will take over the legal system and there will be no jobs available. I do not think that India in today's scenario is equipped to replace a human with AI till date. And till we have a proper data protection regulation in force, we do not think that this AI concept can be adopted in totality. Not only in the legal system, but if you see it, very recently I read that child's report, many doctors were not able to detect the cause of that. He was going through a certain illness, and the reports were updated on open AI platform, and immediately there was a solution found or a resolution found towards that. And it was surprising that it acted in favor of the child, and the medication really helped. So it's not only the legal system, but it requires in all organizations. Like if we have our stock exchange, if AI has to algorithm based, which are feeded by corporates who hold majority of funding, and their system feed a data that a particular stock needs to increase in a couple of days, and that algorithm is used by Indian traders here, the system can be manipulated in a drastic manner. So, having said that, the individual rights, as far as the data protection is concerned, I can say that yes, the OpenAI must. There is a right to privacy. There are privileged communication. If everything is available on the AI platform, and if you just put my name and they take up sources from all public platforms and give my data, my timings, if I have to, if I have put something live on my Instagram handle, and someone feeds in a data today saying where was Nilesh Gala last night, it really is a dangerous thing, and there needs to be right to protection and right to privacy. All these needs to come in, that no individual data should be put on the AI platform. It can be used in a better manner, safer manner, which needs a proper regulation and of course accountability. Now, if organizations are not put to with a disclaimer of a bot that the the AI which is being developed by X company is not to be held responsible for any acts of the bot, this is going to create a really a scenario where there will be challenges in political system, judicial system, uh, educational system, legal system. So we need a proper Indian mechanism. I would say not any other adopted AI which will rule Indian, like rightly said by Dr. Yende. that we need a proper AI, open AI for an Indian tool, which can be only and only governed by the government, which will have proper regulations in force. And I'm sure that the personal agendas and organizations using this AI to manipulate their trades, their sales, will be curbed, and it can be used in a better manner. That's what my answer to your second query is. As far as the first, what are the rights available? I would suggest, and it's a suggestion because presently there are no such regulations in force that you can make a complaint to someone, or there is a insurance policy available that if there is a harm caused to you, that you can claim compensation on a bot. There is no such place. So there should be data protection regulations. Right to rectify, right to erase that data of an individual has to be there. If there's some AI is using my rights, my data, I should have a right to erase that. Like very recently, if you see individual names used on comedy shows, and Delhi courts have come down saying that if a brand name is there to an individual, a famous actor, his name should not be used in a comedy platform or any platform without giving royalty. In such a scenario, the right to privacy and including the right to brand, that cannot be used by AI to modify or use certain products to be highlighted on a particular platform, because then the word royalty or the branding will be extinguished. So all these various aspects needs to be looked after. So Vedant, we are really at a premature stage. There is lots and lots to be done, and we should be very careful when we are using this AI. As far as household things are concerned, the kids are concerned, it can be used in a very restricted manner.
Yes, sir. So as you pointed out that privacy is something very important. Just to share one instance, we all use ChatGPT very rampantly, and yesterday I happened to draft an email, and the ChatGPT gave me my designation with my college name, my phone number, my email ID, everything. For a matter of fact, I never gave ChatGPT that entire data, but it still had it. And I was also amused at how did this happen. So in privacy law, we study that access is already there. We have to have control. So we have to talk about the control of the data than the access, because access everyone is having. Thank you very much, sir. Now coming to Ashok sir again. Sir, talking about alternate dispute resolution and online dispute resolution, how do you see the use of artificial intelligence in these two domains? You being an empanel mediator yourself, how can mediators, arbitration, and negotiations take place? Online dispute resolution, as you mentioned, e-courts take place with the integration of AI systems.
Yeah, so Vedanta is true that ADR is a new mechanism here, considering this pendency rightly just rightly discussed amongst us. That alternate dispute resolution is we should apply ADR, but futuristic application of artificial intelligence with respect to mediation and arbitration has limitations, because in arbitration mediation it involves a human element. You have to convince the parties and bring them to the proper settlement. But certainly in mediation also, whatever data you have to collect, you have to analyze the data, you have to collect the information. A lot of time is wasted, whether in judicial side or whether in the mediation arbitration. So even in the ADR process, we find that a lot of these things can be done by the AR, and we can save the time. It can be cost saving and time saving also. So certainly AR will be. We can also call in future probably AI mediators, AI arbitrators. That will probably we can call like that actually. So but that will certainly help in the mediation process. But in mediation arbitration, as per my knowledge in settling the dispute at the high court level and the state commission and the higher level, I found that human element is there, and here you have to convince the parties. Psychological elements are there, ego issues are there, many other things which may not be part of our legal system law is there. And it depending on your own personality and your communication and convincing skill, all these things are there. And that is important, and that's why I think that AI should be applicable. It will certainly help going to settle the matter. But regarding this matter, evidence, collection of data, analysis of data, everything naturally will be there. But human element will be, so we have to consciously apply artificial intelligence in mediation arbitration. Secondly, I always prefer, now mediation law is there, everybody knows that mediation law 2023 is there. They also amended Arbitration Act, Conciliation Act, and now again so many things, judicial legislation, judicial things, legislative developments are coming with respect to the settlement, where even commercial acts now they have made it mandatory up to particular level, and probably in future mediation may be a precondition for filing this one. So these are the recent. By the time students will pass their law education and get the degree, by the time entire system would have been changed. So this is going to enter parameters, and the system is going to change. So IDR will certainly is the future of litigation, particularly in civil litigation. In criminal, all the matters cannot be settled. There are limitations. There are particular schedule is there, except comfortable or the bouncing object like this. Except otherwise, criminal matters are not covered within the purview of the mediation arbitration. But civil matters, almost all civil matters, they are covered under arbitration mediation. So certainly, artificial intelligence should be adapted, should be applied to the mediation arbitration process. And these laws, then why I appreciate mediation, because they actually, Vedanta, I got a mixed experience. I was an academician for so many years in various colleges, university level and other college level. And then I was, as an administrative experience, I was principal, professor, head, and dean of the faculty. Then post retirement I started my law firm. So I have got a mixed experience of the academics, their administration, and the profession. So there is a huge gap between the academics and the profession. Profession, many things are there which may not be part of your curriculum. I understand that the academic knowledge and the substantial knowledge, conceptual knowledge, jurisprudential knowledge is necessary, but there is a huge gap. And in profession, there are many other parameters, other things are which are essential, and that's why mediation and even Supreme Apex courts, higher judiciary, Niti Aayog, they everybody you told about this ODR. I just mentioned one instance of the SAMA. You must have heard of SAMA. SAMA is one of the topmost leading organization in this country of online dispute resolution. And fortunately, I am also one of the empaneled mediator of the SAMA. Since this, they are the alumni of the Kolkata, National University Kolkata, I think, juridical sciences. And these young people of 23, 25 years, they started establish the SAMA, and within this span of the 5-6 years, they got registered 2 crores of the cases, more than 2 crores probably, minimum over 2 crores of the cases, and actually settled more than 35 lakhs of the cases. So what we could not do in our justice delivery system, these young law students are doing and actually settling the matter through ADR, ODR. So that is the future of the litigation in this country. Because unless in India, country like India, making complex laws, so many provisions, when there are too many laws, Palkhiwala, one of the leading late Palkhiwala used to say, when there are too many laws, too many courts, there is too little justice. So this is just not to criticize the system, but saying that we have to, in considering Indian context, we have to simplify the system so that people should get access to the justice in a proper way, in a simple way, in an inexpensive way. We go on making borrow the system from the Western country, make it more complex. Then we people like we lawyers, we gain from out of that system, and we praise the system, but that is never the intention. And I rightly said by former Chief Justice Ramanna, Justice Chandrachud, that we have to Indianize the system in that sense, that access to the justice and making the system more simplified. So apply artificial intelligence with all subject to all these considerations, ethical and other considerations, but from the Indian context, Indian parameters. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One thing which you definitely pointed out was about the aspect of human element in ADR and ODR mechanism. Despite the fact that AI will integrate definitely with the ADR and ODR systems, but human element is something which only we can provide. So, with that, I would like to move to Dr. Abhijit Rohi, sir. Sir, when we talk about the integration of AI in this administration, the ADR, ODR, or the governance, can we say that it will eliminate the notion of bias, human bias, and arbitrariness in the decision making process and have a better governance? Because as Justice P.N. Bhagwati has said that wherever there is arbitrariness, there is violation of equality. So arbitrariness and equality are sworn enemies. So can this sworn enemies and arbitrariness artificial intelligence can solve?
I think that's also a very interesting question, which probably would require a lot of domain knowledge for me to respond to. Nonetheless, preliminary understanding that I have developed looking at all the literature that I largely have engaged with is something which is the fact that I think that the artificial intelligence would continue to have certain problems. which is also the reason why yet another, I think, approach that is being familiarized very recently in 2025 itself is treating artificial intelligence as a stakeholder in decision making. So let's say while we are looking at corporate governance models, can we think about artificial intelligence not just as a tool, but actually as a stakeholder, where we are actually thinking about fixation of accountability as a matter of sense making and not just liability attribution. And that's something which is very interesting, a model also basically to look at, for the reason that now if we kind of have to fix the liability in the entire picture, saying that, oh, something wrong is already happening and now I have to figure out where has the wrong happened, I might have to look at as to whether the people who are involved in the development and deployment of artificial intelligence at any point in time had the clarity or idea that this is the likely outcome of it. Should they probably not have that idea or the clarity, the immediate response has to be not the legal recourse to penalize them, but actually to kind of make sure that this is the problem that we have encountered already, and now we need to kind of like find the solution to it immediately. And it can be done at designs level, it can be done at data sets level, it can be done at inputs level. I mean, like, I'm not talking about what an output that artificial intelligence would give. It has to be done apparently at an input level. And that's going to be a very, very interesting approach probably to look at. One thing that we already would have established as a matter of principles, I'm sure by then, would be right against automated decision making, which is actually not the part of DPDP still. Or for that matter, we would probably have already established the idea that there has to be deployment of technology for the purposes of deriving human benefit, which is to say that my constitutionally protected interests are advanced. That would then further mean that any violation of my constitutionally protected interests would require a legal remedy being present in the picture. Correct. Which is also where I think when Advocate Nilesh basically said that like there is no such place to file complaint, had been also responded to in a very peripheral manner in the Carnegie India's report, which largely went on to say that, okay, let's just understand and adopt a very reductionist approach, exactly similar to that of how we looked at privacy, and say that like there's nothing separate that we wish to protect if we deploy artificial intelligence. In fact, we should just basically go ahead and say that this is largely protected as part of already recognized interests under the law. So applying the same logic, even through like, let's say, the biases that are going to be present, the discrimination that is likely to happen, I think they're all recognized interests into the systems. Now only probably that we have to figure out is what kind of model that we would have. And one of the very interesting approaches that ended up happening again very recently has been this entire seminar series conducted by ITU, which is International Telecommunications Union. And since the year 2023, annually they were conducting these summits where they are looking at a theme, how Niti Aayog had come responsible AI for all. They are thinking about AI for good. And AI for good is a very interesting initiative, which is basically then talking about the fact that technology is always neutral. It's the people who would deploy the technology, for what purposes can the technology be used, would determine what outcomes would the technology have. Correct? Something similar to what Ambedkar had said, like constitution कितना भी अच्छा हो, अगर लोग implement करने वाले अगर बुरे हैं तो outcome बुरा होएगा. Same is the case with technology also, which is like if the technology is neutral, then it will largely depend on the people, which is where again I would revisit what some of the panelists have said, and not just simply take a view that state is the only or government is the only controller or regulator of the entire picture, because we have reached already to a level where that's just not the case. I mean, that's with respect to artificial intelligence more, but that has already been happening with all the sectoral regulators that are present in Indian context. Like we debating about co-regulation, we thinking about like to what extent can we have self-regulation. We have already moved past the state of like only thinking in the linear idea. Now we have to probably look at the horizontal one. So I think there are a lot of points also to others there, but in a nutshell, that would probably be my response to addressing the biases and the issues relating to non-arbitrariness.
Thank you very much, sir. My next question is to Swapnil, sir. You being a company secretary, so I will accordingly pose a question to you. So, with the rapid rise of artificial intelligence in the financial decision making and automated trading, how can regulatory bodies ensure fairness and transparency and accountability in the AI driven financial ecosystem?
Okay. So, honestly speaking, first of all, the law has to be made. So it's not just about being an AI law as a whole, but you need to have specific laws, I believe, because otherwise, if you have a general AI law, it will go on adding certain details and certain clauses every month or every year, every time there's an issue, and then it will become like an income tax act or a companies act, which was very huge and it required a sea change later on. So AI laws specifically to for specific sectors, let's say finance sector or any education sector or the industry, such laws need to be made first. Secondly, when you are making such laws, you need to involve everybody, all the stakeholders. It should be a multi-stakeholder approach, right? From the government, the financial institutions, the regulators, and the main thing that should be emphasized on should be a balance between profit and responsibility. Because most of these private sector organizations will always put a lot of emphasis on the profit aspect. But if you don't have that responsibility of using artificial intelligence through an optimum way, in that case, the entire system will fail, as Mr. Abhijit pointed out that कितने भी अच्छा law हो, but आगे चल के problem तो होगा if people are not using it properly. So, if you have this kind of a balance, profit and responsibility, only then it will be possible to overcome the gray areas of that liability aspect or the consumer protection aspect, and you can then evolve faster. We should also be having, when we are talking about the regulatory aspects, we should also be having, let's say, an AI ministry. We are just focusing on the AI laws as of now. So AI ministry would be helpful, like we already have in UK and some of the other European countries. There needs to be a specific emphasis on the audit trails of from where the person who are trading in the financial aspects of the finances are actually trading. Are they individually trading, or there is an agentic AI behind it, and the agentic AI is actually helping trade the people helping trade on the stock market. So if we overcome all these aspects, I'm trying to be a little brief because I think there's paucity of time. So if we overcome all these aspects together, only then we'll be able to achieve a good outcome in the industrial aspects or in the company aspects.
Thank you, sir. And very interesting point which you made of having an AI ministry, which is quite interesting and also innovative, which can be a case in down the 10 years for sure. My next question is to Advocate Nilesh Kala, sir. Sir, you being practicing in real estate matters for so long, how do you think that this artificial intelligence can nichely impact the real estate sector, and what way it can impact? Uh, Advocate Nilesh, sir, am I audible to
Vedant, can
you?
you just repeat? I lost the connection. Yeah, yeah, please, can you repeat?
Yes.
I'm so sorry, I lost the connection.
Yes, sir. I just said that you being practicing in real estate for so long, how do you feel that the artificial intelligence will impact the entire real estate sector in a very niche manner at least? And what can be the implications of that?
As far as the legal system governing the real estate sector, the AI certainly can help us to robust and create a scenario where you can grade many projects. Like recently, where there is a judgment of Bombay High Court, and Justice Gautam Patel's bench had passed an order directing Maharera to grade projects and the developer based on the past experience, delivery, and number of complaints received, litigation involved, and disputes. Now, having said that, it was a really welcoming move by the Bombay High Court in that judgment, where it actually would make a home buyer, in a layman's language, a aam admi who wants to buy a house in Mumbai or the MMR city, can just by way of a button can ask what is the history of this developer in delivery of the project, what are the litigations involved, what are the legal title disputes in the various courts, which will actually give them a decision making power to buy a property or a dream home for themselves and investing their lifetime money. This can be looked at a various negative level also, where the, of course, as it said, that algorithm someone human feeds, which will defeat the or creates interest for only a particular developer or a particular brand. Now that governing aspect has to be, like I said, that if this AI has to be brought in, it has to be governed by a regulator like Maharera. So that grading system, which will help a home buyer to invest his lifetime, and that he seeks that in couple of years he will move into a new house, which will not happen because of a not proper data fed in. So these are all very, I'm saying that it's a niche level theory based. It has to have a proper analysis, proper research, and really a brainstorming thing by working of collaboration with government, institutional, and the IT sector to bring in a proper good outcome, which will really help within a button uh, click of a button, that someone can invest. He doesn't have to actually ask around that whether this developer is good or bad, and with a button he can really invest his lifetime to see a dream home. Including that, if I say that even for a system that where there are complaints in Marera, as you know, Vedant, that we practice in real estate sector, certain complaints which require really no hearing, and it's a cyclosand, uh, say a compensation for delayed possession, section 18 complaint under RERA Act. Supreme Court in New Tech in clear words said that a right of an allottee is really, as in very highest level which should be given, and basic element of compensation is that he should be given interest on delayed possession. In these type of complaints where orders are very clear, such complaints, only the date of possession needs to be seen in the agreement. AI can play a drastic change in the system, where I think 5 lakh complaints are pending before Marera, which can be resolved in a day's time.
Thank you, sir. I think one point which you pointed out, that having a artificial intelligence to check the titles of the owners, that's a very important thing, because majority of the property cases are because of the title clearance only, and there is no integrated website also to see that. So definitely, I would also personally like to work on this research, that how can we develop this AI, and we can have one system where we get everyone there, because there are many cases where one person is in Mumbai and that case is going on, say, in Allahabad High Court, and that court is not listing the title clearance in one website. So if you miss to see Allahabad High Court's website, then you are gone. It's a fraud on you. So I believe these are some cases which move on. So that was a very interesting point made by you. So thank you very much, everyone, for giving your valuable time here. We do have some paucity of time because we also are having our paper presentations starting from 11:30. It was a very good discussion with everyone, having a diverse perspective from academicians,
Vedanta,
from
Mr. Vedanta, can I give your 1 minute? Can I take 1 minute,
yes,
Mr.
yes, sir,
Vedanta?
please. Yes, sir.
So, as rightly said by Mr. Abhijit, regarding technology implementation, then Swapnil, AI Ministry, I appreciate the suggestion of Professor Swapnil regarding Artificial Intelligence Ministry. And off the record, I came to know that our Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and Chandrakanji Dada, they are initiating Artificial Intelligence University in Maharashtra, state of Maharashtra. It is in the process. Publicly, they have not declared. But that is also I appreciate the move on the part of the state government. And Advocate Gala rightly said that in RERA cases. So I think changing of the mindset of the people and even mindset of the judicial officers is also important. In India, there are many other parameters other than the law. So that we should change. Then we will, in spite of, because you take the case of cyber security, cyber law, Information Technology Act 2010 came back. Since that, now in the Parliament Minister also, with due respect to our entire system, that he declared that not more than 3% of the convictions cyber. In spite of laws coming in 2010, then so many amendments in Evidence Act, so many amendments in the criminal law, conviction rate officially declares 3%. And to my knowledge, it is less than that because there are no proper cyber crime stations and these forensic stations in this country. So I think rightly said by this whether Mr. Abhijit or Swapnil or Mr. Gala, they said that infrastructure, robust infrastructure, everything we have to plan, and then we have only making the laws may not be sufficient, and application of the act may not be sufficient, and will not be give the proper remedy. Justice what we feel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So now I would like to invite Advocate Shivam Jain Kakadia, sir, consultant PCGT, Public Concern for Governance Trust, to give an address.
Okay, I'll keep it very brief. Thank you, Vedant. I just want to thank all the panelists, esteemed panelists. It was a very interesting discussion, which is very clear that even now 100 participants are logged in. So normally on a Sunday morning in an online program, you would see certain participants getting dropped out, but it was so engaging that, it is very evident that we are still at 100. So thank you so much to all of you, Yende sir, and Advocate Nilesh Gala, Abhijit Rohi sir, Swapnil Shenvi sir, for your time. And Vedant, you are amazing. The way I think you have curated the questions is really why I think everyone was hooked in, and you just led the panel to the topics that you curated very rightly. So thank you so much. And we also invite you, our distinguished panelists, and also all the participants to our closing ceremony, which is at 4:45 p.m. today. Honorable Mr. Justice Madan B. Lopur will be delivering the closing address on AI ethics. And if you could join, of course, if you have the time, because we really appreciate that on a Sunday morning, you did it for us. We'd be very happy to see you there as well. And we look forward to host you in more of PCGT's programs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Should we leave now?
Vedant, you want to end and then restart the meeting maybe? Or you want to keep it like this only?
I'll just stop the recording and then I'll restart the recording.
Yes.